So, what's next on our agenda after that wonderful, wonderful presentation by Professor Carson Ayangwe from South Africa? We have Mr. Effie Tembong, who has been to the town hall. Mr. Effie was very instrumental, if not responsible, for putting together the Oxford Conference on the U.S. Resolution 684 that was held last month. It, a three-part series, actually. And Mr. Effie, and in consultation with some members of the Secretariat of the Southern Cameroon's International Town Hall, felt it necessary that the people of Southern Cameroons be updated and informed of what this conference was all about. We have been talking on many sessions about the importance of internationalizing our struggle. We heard from Shea, we heard from Comrade Kimbang, why we should be talking to the international community. And Effie did a great job with this Oxford conference, which was very well attended. And so he's going to update us and also tell us what's next, or what we can do to further the diplomatic front of our struggle. So, Mr. Effie Tembong, we thank you for taking the time to come to come and speak to us. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so very much. I'm sorry for the mix-up. Yeah, I'm on the road, so it wasn't easy to be able to connect. But are you able to hear me now?
Yes, yes, we hear you.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I'm really grateful for the opportunity and the strategic position of this town hall to be able to mobilize Southern Cameroonians around this cause. And I'm also grateful for all those who attended the Oxford conference. It was done in partnership with the Oxford University, so I'm really grateful to the Oxford University for hosting. I'm also grateful to the Gold International Clinic for Human Rights and also the International Human Rights Center at the University of Pretoria. We work together with the organization I lead. The Oasis Network is a civil society organization that is doing advocacy around the Southern Cameroon's conflict and the right of Southern Cameroonians to self-determination. And so, as you all know, it was a great success in terms of participation and also in terms of the things that were said. I think the Southern Cameroon question was put really clearly, and the international community was listening. I've had some really good feedback from different countries, from different foreign ministries, and also different parliaments and people who show interest in the work of Southern Cameroons. As you know, advocacy, this is just one step in the advocacy move. We've developed an advocacy plan that we are trying to implement along with a number of right organizations and institutions to be able to bring this situation for the international community to rally around and resolve the conflict, the root causes of the conflict. Cameroon had tried to build a myth around the Southern Cameroon's conflict, saying that it was an internal matter. And we had to demystify that myth to make sure that it is not an internal matter, it's an international affair, and the international community needed to intervene. And so we are pushing this from a number of angles. And like I said, as a civil society organization, we fight for the people of Southern Cameroonians, the people of Southern Cameroons. It's not just the groups, and we need to be careful because some of the feedback we are getting is the fact that self-determination needs to be for all the people of Southern Cameroon, not just for the groups. We have armed groups that are also causing trouble on the ground, and that we need to be careful about that as we engage and talk about the plight of the people and their struggle for freedom. We need to make sure that self-determination is not just for the groups, like in the case of South Sudan, that the people were deprived of their own self-determination and are being killed. And so we need to make sure, and I think the town hall is strategically placed to communicate that message, that those who are abusing human rights on the ground are doing a disservice to the cause. Many of our people that we need right now, because like I said, this Oxford conference is just one step. We still have many hills to climb. There are many, many challenges that we need to continue to undertake in the diplomatic front or advocacy front to be able to engage with different strategic institutions in different countries to bring our case so that people will rally and we build a movement around what is going on. So when our people abuse human rights, it is a disservice. It does a disservice to the cause. So if people really want to see freedom come, we need to avoid causing harm to the very people we want to see freed. And we need to also make sure that it is self-determination for all of the people. That this is a movement of the people of Southern Cameroon, and that it is an unstoppable movement. Nothing is going to stop the people from achieving what they want. And when the people come together to focus on their own freedom, they are unstoppable. And that's why we need to be able to rally our people, and we need to continue to do grassroots mobilization in the various countries that our people are found in Europe, in North America, Canada, in places that can really help us. Don't minimize the effort you can do at the local community. We want to see universities mobilized. We want to see the media, local media in different strategic countries engage in different areas, no matter where you find yourself. I think you can make a difference. To all those who are listening to us right now, you can make a tremendous difference. We have some plans. Like I mentioned, we had developed an advocacy plan, which we are implementing. We are mobilizing. I wouldn't go into the details of that advocacy plan here, but just know that we have a plan and it's ongoing, mobilizing key partners or strategic institutions and persons in different countries to be able to make sure that our plight is heard and that our freedom is achieved, and that those who have committed atrocities are brought to justice. As a civil society organization, we are committed to doing that, working with various partners. Oasis Network is not does not belong to a group. We want to see justice done on behalf of the people of Southern Cameroon, and we're engaging with other parties to be able to make sure that that happens. So thank you again very much for your contributions. If somebody is interested in knowing or contributing to some of the advocacy plans that we have, you can reach out to us. We are available to listen and to get any input that others, and if others want to join, come on board, that's also great. So that's what I can share. Maybe if people have questions, they can ask questions.
Uh, Thank you, Effie, for taking the time in your busy schedule. As you said, you're on the road, but you've taken the time to come and speak to Southern Cameroonians about what Oasis Network is doing. There's a hand up. I think I saw a hand up. It's gone down. But what I was going to ask you was more to the point of the Oxford conference. It was on the U.S. Senate resolution, and I know the Oxford conference wrote a 100-page document to the UK Parliament in 2019 on the situation in Southern Cameroon. So could you tell us a little bit more than just it's the law department of the University of Oxford, what they are doing, and how you came in contact with them and how you built this relationship? Maybe other people could learn from it, and in our different communities reach out to our higher institutions of learning, because we don't really appreciate how much power these people have in terms of they do a lot of consultancy work for governments too. Are you there?
Yes, I am. I'm saying that thanks very much. As you know, the US Senate resolution gave us a platform, gave us a framework to be able to bring out this conflict out in the open. I think the US did a great job passing that resolution, and this is thanks to all those who work hard. It was not just Oasis Network, there were many other organizations and Southern Cameroonians involved in making sure that the resolution is passed. It took a lot of grassroots mobilization. So we want to take advantage of it. It's not just a resolution, it's their words, but we want to pounce on that. I learned something from my dad. My dad always told me, you need to hit the iron while it is hot. And so we need to continue to work on that resolution because it gives us a framework to engage other parliaments, to engage other institutions, and that's what we did. Oxford had already started a project. The project was to do a study of what's going on, the root causes of the Southern Cameroon's conflict. And they did a tremendous job of that conflict and came out with a number of reports that many people can see online, which was also shared not just with the British Parliament. We took that report and shared with other governments. I am part of the Oxford Working Group, just using that report to be able to do advocacy work. And not just that report, but you have Human Rights Watch report, you have Amnesty report, and then we have our own reports that we pull out, and we are able to use that in our advocacy outreach. And so, thanks to Oxford, this study really opened the eyes of the British government to see that they cannot run away from their responsibility. And the recommendations were very clear to the British government to take responsibility and be able to do some work on it. And we've continued to build on that. And we need to continue to build on that. Like I said, it takes a movement. All Southern Cameroonians need to be involved. We need to mobilize our people to start to implement the advocacy plan so that freedom will come sooner than later. We still have, it's a huge battle. It's not over.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, She Kijika. She, go ahead. Ask Ify your question.
Okay. Hello, Effie. I wonder, at this Oxford conference, there were taken 4 resolutions, and I wonder where they are published. Shall I turn to Dr. Mofo in order to get the resolutions in writing? Thank you.
What are you referring to, the Senate resolution, or what resolution are you thinking about? The Oxford report, the report of the conference is still coming up. We will cover a number of things from that report. So I'll share that when the report comes out with everybody. So it will be made public.
Okay, thank you very much.
Comrade Fru Nkimben.
Mr. Effie, thank you very much. And you are quite an inspiration. And I really applaud you for the work that you have done. I was quite encouraged and impressed chatting with you. And could you share with the Ambazonians who are your audience, what strategy, simple strategy, you talk very much about grassroots mobilization. You told me about the story, how you went to the local newspaper in your hometown there in Minnesota. Could you share that, please? Because I think those little stories are really the part work that we can use in our local area. If you still remember that story, could you share it, please? About the newspaper?
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, I can do that. One of the, like I said, when you look at the international media, some are just picking up the conflict. It wasn't easy in the beginning. No media was covering. Even when BBC was covering the story, it was in pidgin. And so many people could not read that story. And I was very offended by that because La République has done a great job of engaging with lobby firms that also have engagement with the media. But local media are very important. Out here in Minnesota, when I tried to reach out to my senators, it wasn't easy. So I went out to the local newspaper and told them, there's a story going on. There's a genocide going on that you need to cover. And I provided information about what was going on. And they had me on the front cover and told my story. And that story, I shared the newspaper with the senators. And I had a call from the Senate offices of the senators. And I had a meeting the very next week and got them engaged in what was going on. So the local media, if the international media doesn't cover what's going on, you can start at the very grassroots. And that's where it starts, because most of the politicians listen to what's coming out of their constituent, their areas of representation where they represent. And it's not just the media. We've connected with business people, we've connected with church religious leaders at the local level. And I go out on the street, whoever I can find, to sign letters. And I use that letter to engage with political leaders. And that has worked. That's why grassroots mobilization Politicians like to hear from their constituents. When they hear from 10, 20 people, 50 people, they know this issue is serious. They need to give attention to it. So everyone needs to be involved. It should be a movement of all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ife. We have another hand up for you, Napoleon. Napoleon, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity. Often when we listen to politicians talk about our struggle, when I talk of politicians, that is particularly those who are not part of us. They listen to our story, they talk about it, and they end up saying we have to press on our French partners who have a very big influence over the Cameroon government. Now, with us, this particularly was said during the Oxford conference, and even when we listen to the British House of Lords, they have been saying this. Even with the Germans, they do say this. Now, what is it that we Ambazonians, like Mr. Efi just mentioned, that they have some background work they are doing? Are we equally thinking of facing the French public? Because I think there is much work to be done. If we have 40% of our effort to put in, it should be directed to the French public, the French politicians. Are we really doing that job? So I rest my case there.
Thank you so very much for raising that issue. That is a very, very key point. Most Southern Cameroonians are not happy with the French. Most Africans are not happy with the French. And when I started engaging with the US Senate, we had provided all information that was needed. We had a hearing with the Armed Services Committee that led to the suspension of funds to Cameroon. But key people I was engaging with in the Senate told me, you need to talk with the French. And I didn't like that, but I went to the French. That was back in 2018 and 2019. I actually went to Paris, had appointments, met with Dr. Nadeau, Sebastien. He's become very active in the movement now. I met with him back in early 2019, and met with other French figures. It's not easy for us because the French terrain is a difficult terrain, but we've developed a strategy which we have to implement in France. It will take engaging with key stakeholders within France, not just the political leaders, but also rights institutions, because most people in France don't know what is going on. It will take engaging with the media. So with Oasis Network has developed an advocacy plan for France, which is something I hate to do, but we have to do it if we want to see freedom come. The French need to become uncomfortable with what they are doing. And it's not, we don't just need to have one voice in France. There's one voice there in the French wilderness called Dr. Sébastien Nadeau. We need to amplify that voice. We need to raise many other voices, and it will take some resources. And our people who are in Europe and others who are in France, it will take going into France to engage or having virtual meetings with key institutions and right groups in France, because I often tell I tell some of my friends, I say, we Southern Cameroonians are one of the one of the most educated people fighting for independence, but we have refused to use our brains sometimes because we are more emotional. We are investing more time talking to ourselves in social media groups instead of really getting out there and being very strategic about our outreach. We need to engage in France. That is for sure. We need to do it, because if we do not do it, we will have a long time. The French are very strategic, and even though the Germans are speaking, the others speaking, generally these guys, like you saw in the Berlin conference, when they came together to avoid fighting against one another, they will not fight for us more than they fight for their brothers in Europe. And we need to know that. And we need to be very strategic about engaging in their backyard to raise the issues in ways that make them uncomfortable with their own people, because the French talk about liberty, they talk about human rights. They want to come across in Western societies as a country of human rights. But we Africans know that that is very untrue. That is false. The French have blood in their hands all across Africa. And that needs to become clear, especially in Southern Cameroon. So you are spot on. We need to engage. And if there are people who are in France, Southern Cameroonians who are in France who want to reach out, we need their help. We want to engage. We have a plan, and we want to implement that plan within France.
So Shea Kijika has his hand up, and then Edmond. Shea, go ahead. Then Edmond will come to you.
Okay, thanks again. Comrade Effie, I can assure you, Monsieur Nadeau already spoke last week in the French Parliament, and the reaction of the parliamentarians, they shrug it off in the typical arrogant way. So it is just to confirm that your steps are made, and you left your footprint already in Paris. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this is the second time he is raising the issue within France. In November of 2019, he did the same, and it was shrugged off again by the Minister of Foreign Affairs. So, like I said, the strategy in France, it needs to come from within the French public, the French media, like we did in the United States. It was from the ground up, from the grassroots up. And so if we do the same in France, and we need to understand the French system, the French business elite have control over French diplomacy, over French international relations. The French public has no idea what is going on. When they become aware, and we need to do it in a very strategic way, we will have a breakthrough there. So thank you.
Thank you. So we have Edmond. I think you're next. Edmond, go ahead.
Yeah, Ify, thank you. This particular issue touches on a broader issue. And I think if we remember when Professor Lumumba was here, he asked us a question: have you identified your enemy? And you can actually add a corollary to that question. Do you know who your friends would be? Do you know who your allies are? And so it's been one of those things that we as Ambazonians have actually really like straitjacketed people into different groups, and nothing can be more wrong. So that, everybody who is in France then becomes an enemy. It almost sounds like we read too much from George Orwell's Animal Farm, but rather than read the true philosophical implication of that novel, we kind of like limit ourselves to the understanding of the animals themselves as they were actually using it. It behooves us to really think about how do we get to the French community, how do we get to the French press, how do we tell them this is what your government is doing in your name outside. So this is what we really need to think about, and think about this as a marathon, not a sprint. The fight that we are in is not a marathon. So it's not a sprint. So we're not just going to go get one person in France and then they will come and say one speech and all our problems will be gone. We need to think through, and if we have not thought through, please let's begin to think about it right now. So I wanted to give this kind of, you get this kind of historical and a philosophical context, and then you can begin to figure out what is going on in our own country. And so if you are spot on, but all of us need to get back, use our contacts in France, build a grassroots, have 3 or 4 different parliamentarians who are talking on our behalf, have 3 journalists or 4 who are talking on our behalf, human rights groups who are talking on our behalf, and so on and so forth. And they are beginning to also befriend Blacks in France who are not also happy, who are actually having some political powers, and they are not also happy about what is happening in the continent. So we need to figure out all of these things on how to actually like build this coalition of the willing to fight this evil that we're facing. Thank you.
Thank you, Edmond. If you're still there, we have a Comrade Kimben whose hand is back up.
Okay, it's fine.
Yes, brother Effie, I would really commend you of your grassroots advocate. I would like also to call our attention that the power belongs to the people. And there is a saying that the power of the people is more important than the people in power. And when the people in power abuse the power that the people have given them, people power becomes a revolution to bring them down. With that said, I would say, Comrade Effie, your strategy is has provided us a solid foundation to be proud of. Okay, I'm equally asking what in our previous episode I learned a choice of word, a powerful word from the eminent Professor Anyangwe, which I have been advocating, saying that how do we unite? But he said that it is about solidarity. I would like to put this to you. How do our various factions here abroad, because we really seem to be very, very divided. And like I said earlier, if you put Ambazonians, these leaders in the house, they will kill themselves. They don't need La Republique. They're just going to kill themselves and end it right there. With your vast knowledge, with this short time that I've come to know you, you have internationalized our struggle. What message can you tell the Ambazonian leaders? And I would also like to ask, has any of them reached out to you to see how you can work with them and leverage this? And if they have not, then that speaks volume.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I speak to all of the different key stakeholders, leaders, especially on the issues of human rights, abuse of human rights, calling their attention, given that we are a civil society organization working to protect the rights of our people and fight for their rights to self-determination. One thing leaders need to understand is that if they say they are fighting for our people, they need to fight for the people, for their self-determination. Just the example of wherever I go, I've been in the UK Parliament. I've had meetings in the UK Parliament, and they pointed people who fought for the freedom of South Sudan and Eritrea pointed to those countries to say, look, we fought for the independence of Eritrea in the British Parliament. We fought for the independence of South Sudan. Look at where the people are. They are worse off than they were when we started fighting for them. And so I remember an MP in the UK Parliament told me, if you have come here to ask me to call for the independence of Southern Cameroons, I will not. So I told them, I said, no, that's not why I came. I want you guys to help us create the international conditions for us to be able to bring our case and discuss our case. So our leaders need to be very careful about that. That's why at the beginning I mentioned that we need to fight. Our fight is for the self-determination. That is all the people. It's not for a particular group to grab power. I know many people have said there are governments here and there, but it is the people who have to choose. So if we position ourselves to fight for the freedom, for the self-determination of the people, and create the conditions that when freedom comes, the people will choose who their government is, who their leaders are, that will make a tremendous difference. That will send a message to the international community. And I think the leaders need to begin to look at this. I know there are many accusations of different groups that they belong to La Republique. That is not true. There are different surrogates who go on social media accusing different groups. I can tell you here that that is not true. It is an issue of power. Various groups want power, and they need to be able to let go that desire for power and look at sacrificing themselves in the fight for the freedom of our people and come together. When you put the people first, you put aside other self-interest that the groups have and serve the people, so that, and then people will be able to avoid the human rights abuses that we see on the ground, the kidnapping, the killing by Southern Cameroonians, by Southern Cameroonian groups, which is something that really is painful and does a disservice to our people. One other thing that I just want to also address is the issue of France again. To say, Edmond and you guys are spot right that most French people don't know what's going on. The French have values of human rights, which they respect within France, but which they do not respect abroad. And we need to be able to engage not just with political leaders, human rights groups, but also universities. Universities make a difference. We need to engage with French universities, French human rights organizations, and bring this debate out there in a way, and the French media in a way that comes across. We will not do it emotionally. I know most of our people are traumatized, and so very often the emotions take over. When we engage in advocacy, we need to really be able to have self-control and use our reason to be able to talk with others in a way that helps them understand where we are. We should not come across as some really angry Black people from Southern Cameroons, and people will not listen to us when there is a lot of emotions involved. We need to be able to have a level-headed to be able to engage well with these key institutions within France and in North America and other places in Europe. And like I said, our case is just after 4 years penetrating the international community. We need to build on it. We still have many hills to climb. We need to build on it. And our leaders, the leaders of the various groups, should not take advantage of the fact that this is getting open and start to position their groups. Instead, they need to position the people, put the people first. That's what I can say.
Thank you, Ify. We have two hands. What you're saying has been provoking a lot of thoughts. So let's take Comrade Elino, and then Jojo will be next. Elino, go ahead. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Effie, for everything that you're doing. Now, being in Europe, I just want to ask, what is it that we in Europe can do to add to what you've been doing? The reason I'm asking this question is, one, there's no point going to duplicate efforts in areas where we do not have to. And secondly, we need to be careful not to go undo the gains that you have so far acquired. So it means we need to work in a complementary form. The reason for my question. Now, you must not, I don't expect you to give me the answer right here, but I'm throwing this to you to say that I will talk on behalf of the German community and on behalf of the European women that we would be delighted to have you talk to us on where we can come in and push from some of the angles that you think would make things move forward.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. I will not elaborate here, but I want to say we need to work together. We need to maybe even have a virtual meeting to develop an advocacy plan for Europe. There is some plan going on, but we need to bring different key stakeholders, different parts to this so that we can work together. It's not just EFI's plan or Oasis Network's plan. There are many other organizations within Germany that are already involved, but we need to be able to work together to develop and implement that plan together so that it is a plan that is owned by all of us. So,
Effie, let's take one last comment, and then you could make your observations and any closing remarks. So, Comrade Frukiman will be the last for this segment, and then we'll move on to the next segment. Comrade Frukiman, you have the floor again.
Thank you, Mr. Host, and brothers and sisters, Ambazonians, and sympathizers. First of all, let's say that the civility with which our host managed this discussion is really admirable and commendable. I thank you for your dedication.
Thank you.
I would also like to ask Comrade Effie that, in fact, many of us, all of us, we are expert in our field. When I listen to you speak, it's just like I should listen to you all the time. And and then when I listen to other people hold the microphone, because I do believe that the power of the microphone is as dangerous as someone with an AK-47 if you don't know how to communicate. So when I listen to you, the choice of word and then the simplicity and the joy with which you convey your message can really, it makes me like to continue listening to you always. And having spoken to most of a variety of people and quite notable people, what advice would you give to the Ambazonians, and particularly those who have the power of the microphone when they're speaking and representing us out there in public, and as well as our leaders?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate the kind words that you shared. I think those who speak up on behalf of our people should gather instead of divide, should inform our people instead of trying to bring destruction. It's very positive messages encouraging our people. Our people have gone through a lot in the last 4 years, and not to talk about the last 60 years. We've gone through a lot of pain. Our people need hope. Our people need to know that we are fighting on their behalf sacrificially and that we are in this together. Most of our people got discouraged because of the infighting. And if the leaders of the various groups really want people to have that hope again and to stand up, they need to be able to work on behalf of the people and not to try to fight for the name of their group or the name of their leader, but to on behalf of the people. And those who speak out, also there are many people who speak and many people who are listened to. We need to gather. We need to come together as a people. We are a small people that are being crushed, but we have decided that we will stand up and stand out for ourselves. And so we need to be able to do that. We need to hold one another's hand and move forward, not backwards, not divide. When we divide, the enemy wins. Others will win when we fight against one another. So to me, that's what I can say. And even if the division is there, those of us who have that hope that we can come together, let's keep working at it. Always the good triumphs. Light always triumphs over darkness. I believe that, and that we insist. I don't take no for an answer. When hurdles are there to be overcome, we need to jump over those hurdles. There are many hurdles on our path towards freedom, and we should not just come and see a hurdle and sit down and say, "Well, this is so difficult. I can't do it anymore." We need to think about what our people are going through. Those people in the forest, people who have died, and many children who never see their parents again because of what's happening in a homeland that we want to call home. Many of us cannot go back home. So we need to keep the fight on in terms of the freedom of our people, and we need to make it in such a way that we find a peaceful solution. Because I believe that there is no. The La Republique declared this war on us. We were seeking a peaceful solution, and our parents fought about the force of argument, not the argument of force. And we need to have that same thing within our movement, especially among ourselves. Defending ourselves is a human right. We have the right to defend ourselves if somebody attacks us. But among our own self, we should be civil. We need to come together. That's what I can say. And then one other last thing I want to say is our organization made a request for the Southern Cameroon's conflict to be brought up in the United Nations Security Council in the month of March. But for some reasons, it won't, because I think they've shared some reasons which I wouldn't want to share here publicly. But we were pointed to the report that the 2019 visit of Michelle Bachelet, the Human Rights Commissioner, the United Nations Commissioner for Human Rights, she made a visit to Yaoundé in 2019, and I think they produced a report that report has not been released. And so we want to lead the charge to ask the UN to release that report, because that report may shed light into what's going on. And I want us to gather together and pursue that as well, among other advocacy efforts that we're doing, to pursue the UN to release the report of Michelle Bachelet's visit in 2019. So thank you again, Town Hall, for the opportunity to come and share. And thank you, everyone, for all your hard work. Oasis Network is not doing this alone. That may, as you know, all of us are involved. And so we are riding on the efforts of many other people. And so it's not just us, it's not just EFI, but I think it's a community that is working together to be able to bring the results that we see. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Comrade Ifi. Thank you for the work you're doing. Thank you for taking the time to come and talk to us. To add to what you're saying about our language, one thing I would call on our people is to take insults out of our language, no matter how angry we are. We saw here in the United States, January 6th, the riot at the Capitol, and even as Congress is sitting down, even though some people of one party refuse to condemn, there are no insults, childish rhetoric and stuff like that. We see that even in the French Parliament, although they don't agree with Dr. Sébastien Nadeau, there are no insults. Although they don't agree with Honorable Thornberry, there are no insults. Please let us. It doesn't help. Just to add to what Ifi said, and again, Ifi, thank you. I know we have 3 very important things we are pushing: the UN-mandated fact-finding mission, the Magnitsky Act, the TPS for Cameroon to be added on the US list. And if we need to add what you're saying, the release of the report by the former UN human rights chairperson, please just inform us, give us more information, and we can share that and add that to the advocacy list, at least here in the US, especially given that we have a new administration, new ambassadors, and new secretaries in the Department of State. That may work in our favor. But again, we thank you, and you're welcome, Effie, anytime. This is your platform. We are your people. We are one. So you're welcome, and God bless you with the good work you're doing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. What we want to talk about now is what has become a big crisis on ground zero, and this is the issue of kidnapping for ransom and rampant theft at gunpoint. And a lot of people, I thank them, have turned to the town hall and brought it to the attention of the town hall. And so the town hall, in collaboration with our boys on the ground, who have also been doing a phenomenal work trying to stamp out this issue of kidnapping, are putting together a plan, or have put together a plan which we want to share with Southern Cameroonians. It has become a syndicate operated both on ground zero and by Southern Cameroonians in the diaspora, whereby criminals are picking up people in ground zero and calling their relatives in the diaspora for ransom. This ransom is no longer being collected on ground zero, but when the boys on ground zero pick up your relative, they call you in the diaspora and they put you in touch with the so-called local government chairman or the so-called county heads. And depending on where you are in the diaspora, the county head tells you who to make your payments to. And then when you make that payment in the diaspora, then and only then do they now give orders to their boys on the ground to release the hostage. It has become so brazen that they are in the diaspora and they do take money from the diaspora, and they tell you how to send the money to them without fear of footprints of financial transactions and the release of their people. That has been brought to the attention of the town hall, and we've talked about it with some of the boys on the ground. When the boys on the ground go to intervene, the hostage takers or the kidnappers tell them, oh, we didn't collect ransom. Technically, they didn't collect money, but their bosses in the diaspora collected the money. So we have some of our boys on ground zero who have joined us to talk about this, and we would talk about it together. Ground Zero, are you there?
Yeah, Una, good evening, everybody, and we thank Una so much for connecting us and then for us bringing these topics again on live to try to see how we can correct what is going wrong here in Ground Zero. Actually, it is something that we are really, really bent on to see how we can find a solution and to have a permanent solution towards all the unrest that are being caused by some manipulated fellows among us and some corporates across the borders. I think I will have something to say, but before now, I think Fear Not Ambazonia and the Liberator that are around, I want them first of all to breathe, and then I'll be coming at a conclusive end. Okay, since they have network issues, I should just be going ahead. I want to greet everybody again and to say respect to you all. We right back here in Ground Zero, we have lots of regards to our local population, our parents and our brothers who have been suffering with us. And we are doing all our best to see that they are comfortable within the period of war. But the issue you see, you are raising like that, the issue of kidnapping and arrest is really giving us headache right back here in Ground Zero. And it has become a syndicate, and we can identify groups that are really carrying out this activity in collaboration with their brothers in the diaspora. And that is not a good view for us. And this social media is a very big outfit that will not be able to expose all. But we want everybody to know that it has become a policy within some fractions that they pick people here and then you pay the monies across there. And those monies, we don't even see their impact here in Ground Zero because we know for the past months how Ground Zero have been mobilizing itself to see how we can realize corporate attack and other multi-joint task force missions, which details will be given in our subsequent broadcast back here in Ground Zero. Obviously, the people in Ground Zero hate the stop of kidnapping because it has never happened before this crisis. It has just only evolved within this process of this crisis. And we blame certain names that are in the diaspora who had helped either directly or indirectly to cause this unrest to happen in Ground Zero. For example, when you say they should arrest everybody who is selling brazaris, and you doesn't put a fine tag of if they arrest this person who is selling brazaris, he has a fine tag of 50,000 or he has a fine tag of 500,000. Somebody may be arrested for selling brazaris and you ended up being paid 1 million, and some person is being arrested and end up being paid 15,000 francs. And before the boys' eyes were opened towards this direction, some big brothers in the diaspora had come publicly in media announcing, and all these things is causing us lots and lots of problems, which you are hearing all these arrests and kidnappings, as you can call here in Ground Zero. Sometimes it's being triggered by the social media outfits which are found there in the diaspora. But we've been doing all our best to try to see how we could put things to order. When this is done, we contact whoever, and we are really trying to develop a means, a technological means, where we can track whoever is really doing it, and then to really get them in time and get whoever is their captive liberated. That's the effort we are putting on ground. For now, we just, if we discover it, we will call the nearest camps around, and they will go there and then chat and then liberate whoever is under captivity. But each time when they are coming there to liberate whoever is under captivity, you will see this question coming up. He sells brazaris. He does this. He does this. Those are the root cause. I'm just about pointing it that those are the root cause of the many kidnapping and arrests you are hearing here in Ground Zero, which is also a source from the social media in the diaspora, and in which they are doing that, and now monies are being paid to the same persons in the diaspora, which we don't see the impact here in the Ground Zero. So we are doing our best to condemn the act, and we are not part of it. The entire body of AMF is not part of it. Ground Zero is rejecting it. Several leaders are rejecting it. And another phase about it again is those normal cartier thieves, those normal cartier thieves. We've gotten series of audios in the past threatening our people of taking them, kidnapping them, or if they don't pay ransom, they come and do one or two things to them, which is not what we want. And we've carried out serious investigation and discover that most at times there are criminals in the quarter doing those kind of things, not even forces which we know they are fighting. In the days ahead, the tax is very, very big for us here in Ground Zero, because we are trying to caution damages and yet we are fighting La Republic at the same time. Is quite much. So we really make sure that we're going to stop kidnapping here on Ground Zero by all costs. So all the generals are putting their signatures on a document approving that there shouldn't be kidnapping here in Ground Zero. So in the days ahead, those things will be arrested. So you have a number there in your screen that you can call every time you have that case around. You just call that number and we'll do our best to contact whoever is around. The numbers there, you can see them. They are right now there in the screen. You have +23 +237 670 02 1867 and +237 670 02 18. Okay, 67 is the same number. Those are the numbers you can use in contacting us, and then you have the email below, amforce13@gmail.com. You can see right there in the screen. You can use that to contact us. Just make us to be aware. We'll do our best to see how we'll release whoever is under captive anywhere in the land, starting from Nkambe to Manu to Fako to Santa, wherever you have that kind of case, just report through those numbers and those email. We'll do our best to get those people released. And if they are not our people who have carried the act, we'll be able to know, because sometimes too, La Republic armies, they are thieves. La Republic armies are thieves, as I'm telling you people. They too, they do that kidnapping and they do ransom taking on the behalf of forces on ground. Meanwhile, they are not forces. And sometimes they do it deliberately to test you if you'll be able to comply. And when you comply, you just discover that you are working in collaboration with the boys. But this is why AMF is putting also an allied force on ground, which is a multi-million project. We just pray that we'll be able to go through it. We are putting an allied force on ground that its duty will be to fight all these ills here in Ground Zero. So in the days ahead, as the allied forces are training, we believe we're going to bring everything under control and the people of Ambazonia will become happy again. Thank you.
Thank you, Presido.
So let me just add a few more points. I want to thank Presido very, very much for all the marvelous jobs that they have been doing. And also I want to remind our audience of what is actually going on the ground and what AMF is been doing, and remind us of what AMF is all about. So, which is an ideology, and it's a coalition of different defense groups from all over Ambazonia coming together to agree on certain modus operandis on Ground Zero. So it's not about, assimilation or owning any fighter. So what this means is when someone gets kidnapped in a village, somewhere in Dian, for example, and you have fighters that have adopted the AMF ideology under that same platform, it's easy to reach those people in Dian and figure out who carried out that operation. And if the person is an Ambazonian fighter or is just a thief, and it's easy to get a group that can go in there and rescue that person. A lot of times, some people get back to the fighters or to AMF after they've already paid ransom. It's very, very imperative that if you get a call, you should call immediately so that the person can be rescued before even paying the ransom, be it the call coming from the diaspora or from Ground Zero. Please, that is very, very important. And also, I want to encourage everybody that although we have been contributing so far, but let's make it a habit that we try and contribute and give these guys what they need to fight the war and to also fight internal threats. Thank you very much. There are a lot more things that will come up in the days ahead that I'm sure they don't want to release it yet to the public. But I want to really thank and commend Town Hall for everything that they have been doing, both materially and morally, and all the advice that they also give. Thank everyone.
Thank you very much, Panther. Some of the things which we want people to take, because if you have not been hit by this kidnapping, I can guarantee you, look at your watch now and start a countdown. Sooner or later, your family is going to suffer this kidnapping nonsense, and so we have to combat it. We have put together this information we are sharing on the screen, that if you get a call from anyone claiming to be an Amber Boy kidnapping, do not send them any money. I know there is the pressure, I think Tiger is coming in. There's the pressure of your loved one, your parent, your sister, your uncle, your grandmother, your, niece or somebody. Provide us, when you call the numbers, get the phone number that called you. Even if it is your relative's number, still make sure that you get the number from which they called you and let us document that number. The date and time the call was made. You want that information. You want to know where your person was picked up, because if we can know where they were picked up, it is easier now to start tracing where they've been taken. When people are picked up, they are blindfolded, so usually they don't know where they're going. But when they get to where they're going, if there's a way they can communicate, or if you get that information, it's important. You want to get the name of the person who called you. Even if they gave you a fictitious name, a fake name, take that name and take the phone number. If you can, it is very important. We need the evidence. Record the call. If your person is kidnapped and they call you and you don't know that they're calling about it, you can pretend to drop that call. When they call you again, please record that call and keep that audio. We need that evidence. If they ask you to send money, which is what they would likely do, even if it's in Cameroon, even if it's Momo or whatever you're using, World Remit, keep that transaction evidence. The account to which you wired the money to, the SMS to which you, the SIM card, wherever the money went, keep that. And then also send in your name and your number, and this information will be kept confidential. Let me put up this number again, so that people know when they get this information where to share it. Now, those people who have reached out to the AMF and to the town hall with these complaints, we thank you, and we want to thank the AMF for those they have succeeded in releasing people's cars that were snatched. They have succeeded in getting some of the cars back, and as the AMF have told us, people pay ransom and then come and complain after the fact. It is too late once that money has changed hands. There is a syndicate in the diaspora. People have called the town hall. We have the town hall has created a number in the United States, 202-505-2061. It is WhatsApp. If your person is kidnapped or somebody calls you from the diaspora and they say they are a local government chairman, or they are a county chair, or they are head of defense, and your person has not been paying taxes or draft as we have now got it, call that number, WhatsApp, provide the information. If you want to use the email, that is ground zero, G0 hotline @gmail.com, or you use the AMF email, or you call the AMF number if you're in ground zero, or the US number if you are in the diaspora. You have the numbers in ground zero, you have the number in the diaspora, you have an email in ground zero, and you have an email in the diaspora. We are going to gather this evidence, and the town hall has made contact with authorities in the US. We've gotten some voicemails already, people who were kidnapped and they were told that they have not been paid, or their family or whoever has not paid draft money, and they have made payments through financial services, and we've gotten the transaction evidence. We want to gather as much evidence, as much phone calls, as much of the kidnapping as we can to build a case to take to the authorities. We are not going to stain this struggle by thieves who sit in the diaspora, some in Europe, and are using a 237. So they are using WhatsApp numbers. They are in Europe, and when they call, you think that they are in ground zero. They are in Europe using ground zero numbers to call the families of people they have kidnapped or their gangs have kidnapped, and they are collecting money in the diaspora. Those people who have had the courage to step up, we thank them. Those people who are afraid because they have been threatened that their family will be harmed, or their homes will be burnt, or their people will be killed, contact us and we are going to keep your information private. If we do not get over the fear and confront these people head on, this kidnapping will not stop. The AMF guys are going to great lengths to confront these guys who themselves are armed to release victims of kidnapping. Those people in the diaspora who are perpetrating this kidnapping, we are sending a clear message to you. We have your information, we have proof of the transactions, we have the times you call, we have recorded calls, and we are going to prosecute this without fear or favor. And we are going to continue this investigation. So I want to share the information you must have when you get a call, if you get a call on this kidnapping. We'll go over it one more time, and then we're going to hear from the boys on the ground again before we round this up. We want to remind our people, if you get a call, you want to get the phone number that's calling you, you want to get the date and time, you want to get the location where your person was picked up. If you know where they've been taken to, that would help. You want to get the name of the person calling you, even if it's a fake name. You want to get the name of their commander or general, whoever is leading their group. Even if the phone number they're calling is the phone number of your relative, take that phone number. If they ask you for money and you send the money, you want to keep that transaction notification that confirms that you sent money either to that account, to that person, or to that SIM card. And you want to call either ground zero, or if you're in the diaspora, you call the diaspora. It's WhatsApp. You leave the information. If somebody doesn't get back to you, somebody will get back to you. And we are going to add this to our stack of evidence, which we will submit to the authorities. We are going to end this kidnapping, at least by those in the diaspora, whether they're in Europe, in America, or sitting somewhere in Asia, thinking that they are safe. Tiger, are you there?
Yeah, good evening. Yeah, I'm there. Good evening, everybody.
Okay, good evening.
Yeah, concerning this case of kidnapping on ground zero is rampant because all the time we get calls from people saying that my child has been kidnapped, this has been taken, my car has been taken, all the like, and we always try our best to rescue some of this when it's within our reach. So we have always been trying to work with collaboration with all the generals on ground that we can get to. And there are some that before they tell you it's already off. You cannot say anything. You cannot do anything either. Or you can only have the screenshot of the message that confirms the transaction. So we are on alert because most of the people on ground, especially in Bamenda, they always get to us as fast as possible when it has happening, or when they call them on phones and they are asking for such. But we come to notice that they are unknown people. They don't even give their names, because I've called severally and they don't refuse giving their names, and they have even registered my number, and when I call, they refuse to pick the call. So at times it's looked difficult for us to trace these guys. So that is our main issues. But if we say we should submit those names and phone numbers and even recorded calls, then it's good. We will try to always submit them on the contacts provided. Thanks very much. This is Tiger 2 once more.
Tiger 2, thank you. Thank you very much for that. Yes, any number they send, we just want to get the evidence. Most importantly, record those calls and keep those transactions. If you happen to reach AMF after you've paid money because you didn't get the number or you were afraid of something happened, please keep that transaction evidence. They are capable of tracing the money, tracking the money, following the trail. We want to know. People in Ground Zero now, from what I have learned, are using dead people's IDs to go make SIM cards and register. It doesn't matter. Even if they went and used a dead person's ID, get that number and get that transaction, that evidence. Let us build the case. So I see AMF posted a different number, a different Cash App number in the chat. The one that was up on the screen has changed. It's 774381. Secretariat, you think you can put that up? The reason we are putting that up is anybody who wants to support them. This support for our struggle has to be voluntary. You cannot kidnap people, put a gun to their head, and then force them that they haven't paid a draft or whatever you call it, and send them to a so-called local government chairman or defense head and force them to pay money in the diaspora and have the gall to call their relatives here and intimidate them and collect money from. Yes, Jojo, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was just wondering that because these people, they'll be becoming very, very smart. What if immediately they carry out the transaction, they change their number and their email and anything that you can get in touch with them? Is there a way to go around that?
We would let the investigators do their job. I believe that in at least here in the US, once a transaction has been made, those companies that do the transaction, PayPal or Zelle or whatever, they know who they send the money to. And I think the US government, usually the only way you would get your money out of PayPal or Zelle or something, you have to send it to an account or to a card or something. So we will let the investigators do their job. They've just asked us to gather the evidence, and that's what we can do.
I'm more like to Arthur's point. The important thing is just to get the information. And more specifically to the question that you asked, I think even if we had some ideas towards that, it will not make sense for us to share it here. Just gather the information, and then the investigators will know what to do with it.
And what I also want to share here, since we are on this topic, AMF, if you have something you want to add, please feel free.
Okay,
No,
one more time.
I was thinking that maybe we'll open the floor.
It's quite important before we run out of our own time. It is quite important for me just to inform you people here that in Ground Zero, we are very, very annoyed with this situation because resources that would have been made to take care of soldiers here in Ground Zero are found somewhere else in the diaspora, and the Ground Zero has no touch of it, and they are in much need of it. As we are talking to you right now, from the multi-joint task force works we have carried out, the crusades that have been held across the territory within this short period, we have several soldiers on the ground who are wounded that badly need our help. And in fact, AMF, we have several patients right now on the ground, several patients that badly need help. So please, the AMF healthcare department, I receive most of the calls from fighters on the ground when they are showing you their complaints after battles, and then I tender the complaints now to the healthcare department, and then from the healthcare department to the financial department, but we discover that they will not been able to meet up at all because the place is quite dry, and there are several fighters on pains right now. So we are asking the town hall and the Ambazonian international community should do everything to assist the wounded that are presently on the ground. The wounded soldiers that are presently on the ground, please. You should help us by all costs. Thanks.